And it was just like, wait, I was like, wait, hold up. How do they know that I blocked this person? Everyone, I'm Alejandra, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my spiritual awakening journey. I wanted to talk about the stages of a spiritual awakening journey, because maybe some of you are going through it right now and you have no idea. You might just be thinking that you're going crazy. You might just be depressed and you have no idea why. You might just be overthinking, overanalyzing your life, and you might just have no idea what's happening to you, right? I would not have any idea what was happening to me, except for the fact that I'm an intense researcher. I love to learn things. I love to learn. Like, I can sit home all day watching YouTube, learning things, like learning about business, learning about, that's all I've been doing this month, is just learning about all of this. Okay, I've actually become like so obsessed with it because I can't believe that I've lived 30 something years of my life, which I won't disclose how many years I am, but I've lived 30 something years of my life without knowing any of this, without knowing how the universe really works. You know, I've never really been very religious. Okay, I grew up Catholic. I actually went to Catholic school until 5th grade, and I had the worst teacher ever in 5th grade. I won't say her name, but she traumatized me. Okay, she used to bully us. She used to verbally abuse us in the school, and it was to the point where I think it was like 11 or 12 of us in the same grade. Our parents decided to just take us out of that school because that teacher gave us such a bad experience. Literally was verbally abusive. So my parents and all the other parents took us out of Catholic school, put us into public school in 5th grade, and then my life just went on after that. I never thought about praying after that, because before that in Catholic school, you know, we would have to pray in the morning, we would have to read the Bible, or these things that I don't really remember. But all I remember is it wasn't a good experience for me. Like, I looked at school and I hated it. I looked at that Catholic school and I hated it because I had such a bad experience with it. So I feel like from 5th grade and on until now, really, I was never able to really connect with God. If I just I couldn't connect with God. I couldn't connect with being in a church and actually enjoying being in a church, because previous to that, being in school, it was like mandatory. It was just not something that I was able to connect with in my adult life, you know. And I always felt like something was missing, like I didn't have something to believe in. I just kind of felt like I was living life, going through life, just, you know, not that I didn't believe in God, but it wasn't something that was in my mind all the time. So all of this is new to me, this whole spiritual, you know, believing in a higher power. I didn't come looking for any of this, right? I didn't know any of this really existed. But I feel like God or whoever's watching over me felt like I needed this, because it came to me the way that it did. Fast forward to now in my 30s, I came out of an 8-year relationship sometime this year, earlier this year, a little on and off, whatever. Came out of an 8-year relationship, and it was tough, right? Because I came out of that relationship and went right into quarantine, right into coronavirus, pandemic craziness, and it was just obviously not the right time for a breakup, but that's just how it happened. So this year I found myself being alone a lot. Okay, I tried getting into dating and all that stuff, but I will tell you that after 8 years of being with the same person, when you go back into the dating world and you start to realize all the apps, all the Tinder and all the, you know, one-night stand apps that are going on, you start to realize all the crazy stuff that's going on. Like, it's just like a little disgusting to me without, you know, I don't have a different word for it. So it's a little bit kind of like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? You know, I started to question myself, like, do I really want to date these kind of people? Is this what I want? Where am I going to find my future husband? Like, I started to overanalyze things, right? I started to think, and I started to think very small. I started to think like, oh my God, am I ever gonna find someone else that's gonna understand me? Am I ever gonna find someone else that's gonna love me? Am I ever gonna find someone, like, you start to feel like, what if there's no one else in this world other than that one person, right? I really felt like that. So moving on from my breakup, I was home a lot. I have YouTube on my TV. So I started watching these horoscope videos. I'm a Sagittarius. And I started watching these horoscope Sagittarius videos, and I started hearing a lot of terms that I've never heard before. And I will honestly say that a lot of them helped me so much during my depression that I was going through, was hearing these videos and hearing them talk about, for example, some of them were saying that I was in a cycle, I was in a karmic cycle, and it's a cycle that's ending. And then they would say like, but I see you moving forward towards abundance, towards wealth. I see that there's, they would bring things up that I could relate to, that I can resonate with. And I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. And they're talking about, trusting divine timing, and that there's a divine timing for everything. And in my head, I'm like, what does that mean? What is divine timing? What is a karmic cycle? What is a karmic relationship? What does this mean? Like, it was literally so many things that I didn't know that I wanted to learn. It was like, it opened my mind to where I felt before. I felt like I was in a maze, like I was lost in a maze, and I could only see what's in front of me. But learning about horoscopes and the universe and astrology and the way that this whole world works together, this whole world is like one. It's like we all have this energy, these vibrations that we're giving off to the universe. And this is something that I never thought of before. I was literally with like blindfolds on. That's kind of how I feel. Like I was living with blindfolds on, just living life, going through this maze, and learning about divine timing, learning to trust the universe, learning to trust that everything happens for a reason. Hearing these things, I was like, okay, so maybe there is more out there. Maybe this isn't the end of the world. Maybe this is just part of my plan. I started to think more positive. And whether you believe in this or not, I'm just here to share that it helped me, right? It helped me look at life from a different perspective. It helped me look at life as to where something is ending, but there are other things lined up for you. And that really helped me. That really helped open my mind. So I started to look forward to improving myself, right? Because I was like, okay, so if there is more out there for me, I want to become the best person ever. Like, I'm not trying to date over and over and over. I want to find somebody and just like have a husband and children, family. Like, I don't want to do this back and forth with different people. Like, I'm over that, right? But I felt like for me to be a wife, I want to be the best wife. I want to be confident in myself. I want to learn how to love myself more. So then I started researching all these things. It's kind of like opens your eyes, right? Like, I grew up with fear. I grew up with anxiety, and I wanted to fix that. I said, before I get into my next relationship, I want to fix that. I want to love myself more. I don't want to have any fear. I want to just be like powerful. I want to be strong. I want to improve myself. So I started to learn about self-love. I started to learn about meditating. I started learning about the chakras opening up, and recently my heart chakra has been opening up, and it's been making me very emotional. I've just been crying randomly, but it's something that is just like, it's a process, right? So that's kind of how I got into it, was learning about these different terms through the horoscope videos. So I started learning about that, and then as I'm learning about it, I started seeing synchronicities, right? I started seeing signs. I started seeing like 1111 and 444. I started seeing numbers, and then I would look up the definitions of the numbers, and it was something that I connected with, I was starting to see 555 a lot. I would look at the time and it would always be 555, and 5 is the number of change. 555 means like extreme change, transformation, and I felt like that was something that I was going through. I was transforming myself physically, you know, I was losing weight. I was just doing things to improve myself. I dyed my hair, you know, I started feeling healthier, waking up early. I started learning about journaling. Like, I really wanted to be the best self that I could be, and things just started clicking for me. Like, when you start going through a spiritual awakening, you start to question everything that you thought before, right? You start to question your old habits, you start to question your old life, you start to question things that used to interest you before, parties that you used to want to go to, like things that you used to find fun. It's like they all of a sudden don't interest you anymore. Now you want to just learn. Now you just want to be successful. Now you just want to spend time with family now, or you just want to be alone. There are certain things that just don't interest you anymore, right? So I started feeling like that. I started seeing numbers. I started seeing signs. I started watching more videos. And as my life was changing, as I was going through different situations, I would watch like a horoscope video, and it was literally what I was going through in that moment. It was literally what I was going through in that moment. And let's say that my life was changed again and I went through a different situation. That change and that new situation was in my cards that next time that I saw it. And it was just like, wait, I was like, wait, hold up. How do they know that I blocked this person? How do they know that I just came out of this relationship and this is happening? I'm not going to talk about it because those are my personal things. But whatever it was that I was going through, it was coming out again. And I was like, it just all felt like at some point, you have to stop looking at things like, oh, it's a coincidence, and start to realize that you're actually getting signs, right? You're getting signs from the universe. I'm gonna get into the 6 stages of a spiritual awakening so you guys can see, okay? So the first, and I'm looking down at my notes in case you're like, why is she looking down, okay? These are signs that I learned from Christina Lopez on YouTube. I love her, I recommend her, Christina Lopez, okay? Her video actually is only a year old, and it has 1.2 million views. That shows you that 1.2 million people are going through a spiritual awakening this year, and they have been researching on YouTube, looking for more information. And I truly feel that during this coronavirus, during this pandemic, so many people are losing their jobs, are going through death in the family, and it's making them reevaluate their entire life, their entire purpose, their entire everything, right? So many people are going through, even if you don't want to call it a spiritual awakening, it's also called enlightenment. So you're getting enlightened into your actual purpose in life, right? So the first stage is an external trigger. So an external trigger is usually something that pushes you into a spiritual awakening or an enlightenment, right? An external trigger is something intense that just takes, like, it pulls the rug out from under your feet, right? It could be maybe you lost your job, maybe you lost your home, maybe there was a death in the family, or maybe there was a birth in the family, maybe you just became a parent for the first time, maybe you were completely successful and all of a sudden your business it shuts down, or you lose your job, or whatever, you find yourself broke, in debt. Like it's something that happens to you that just completely changes your life, or you go through a divorce, or you go through a breakup like I did. It's something that happens to you in your personal life that just makes you think, like, what am I doing? Like, it makes you ask questions, right? It makes you feel like, what am I doing with my life? Is this what I want to be doing? Is this making me happy? You start to reevaluate, right? So the first step is an external trigger, something that triggers you. The next step is bliss, right? Bliss. I'm gonna just read what I have here. You start to feel connected, right? You see signs everywhere. You feel like you're looking at things and you're looking at things differently. You feel like you're getting signs from the universe. You feel like certain people that you think about all of a sudden are texting you. You feel like you just open your phone and you see, like, you scroll on Instagram and you see a certain meme that just literally talks to your whole life at that moment. You start to feel like, okay, yeah, certain things are algorithms, certain ads that are put in front of you, they're algorithm, they're based on your interests and stuff like that. But at some point you start to feel like, okay, this must be a sign, right? Like, you know that feeling when you're like, okay, this has to be a sign. And you start to see things like that. You start to feel more connected. You start to feel like, okay, maybe there's more out there for me. Maybe the universe is telling me something. You start to really like feel, you start to feel enlightened, right away. You start to feel excited. You start to feel like, oh my God, like, what am I, this is amazing. Like, I'm getting signs. I feel like I'm being directed. And all of a sudden you go through stage 3. Oh my God. Stage 3 is known as the dark night of the soul, aka intense depression, isolation. That's why it's called the dark night of the soul. I wish it only lasted for one night, but it does not last for one night. I don't know why it has that name, but it's called the dark night of the soul. You can actually, everything I'm talking about, you can write this down and research it, look it up on YouTube. If you look up on YouTube, dark night of the soul or spiritual awakening, you're gonna see that I'm not crazy and that this is actually a real thing, right? So the dark night of the soul is when your soul starts to bring up all the things that need to be healed. Past trauma, childhood traumas, old heartbreaks, things that you've tried to bury deep inside to never look at, stuff that I've done, okay? I don't really deal with my problems. I just kind of bury them. I forget about them. I move on. And I've been doing that my whole life to the point where now it's like all of it just starts coming up. And why does it start coming up? It starts coming up because of all the questions that you start asking yourself, right? You start asking yourself, why am I feeling like this? Why am I going through this situation? Why did I lose my job? Why am I even in this job? Why or why am I even in this marriage? Or is this what I really want? Like, you start to ask yourself, is this really what I want? And then, like, let's say you're in a marriage that you're getting out of and all this stuff. You start to ask yourself, why did I put up with all the things I put up with? And then you start to think, like, maybe as a child, you had self-limiting beliefs that were put into you by your parents, your family, or maybe you had a previous relationship where you were cheated on and you lost all your trust. You have to start thinking backwards and start to think like, okay, I'm in this situation, but why? Like, what triggered me to think this way? You just want to be alone. Like, you literally just want to be home alone and just ask yourself all these questions. You start thinking, you start overanalyzing, and then people are asking you like, hey, let's go out for dinner, and you're like, no, like, ignore it, delete. Like, you literally don't want to see anyone because you're so in your head, you're so in your mind, you're so in your own thoughts that it drives you crazy. You start to feel like, who am I? I don't recognize myself anymore. I don't enjoy doing the same things that I used to do. I don't have any interest in doing the same things that I used to do, right? Like, your whole entire mindset changes. Your ego completely just dissolves, right? During a spiritual awakening is when your ego is in charge of your fear, your attitude, your ego is just like who you are, right? Your ego is your sense of self, your sense of, this is who I am. That comes from your ego. When you're going through this process and you start to reevaluate everything that you've ever thought before, everything that you've ever thought about yourself, your ego just gets like shut down and you start to feel like, who am I? Like, if this is not who I am, then who am I? What am I supposed to be doing? What is my life purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, you start questioning everything. You start questioning the people you hang out with. You start questioning your job. You start questioning your life, your family, your relationships, your friendships, your life purpose. You start to question everything, okay? And some people, even the food they eat, what they put in their body, what they put on their body, you start to question everything, okay? Especially during the dark night of the soul, that's when your ego really starts to go crazy, because it's like your ego wants to stay where it's at, right? You want to stay comfortable. This is a very, very uncomfortable growth process. And when I was going through the dark night of the soul, being home alone, I was just thinking, just overthinking and researching. Like, I would hear a term like divine timing and I would search it on YouTube, like divine timing. And of course, there's tons of videos teaching you about that, and I would learn about it. Then I would learn about the dark night of the soul. And then I learned that this is called shadow work. So the dark night of the soul is where you start to look through the deep parts of your soul, right? The parts that are hurt, the parts that have gone through traumas, the parts that are, you know, damaged because of past experiences, or even past, I won't even get into past life because I'm totally going to lose you there. That might be for another video. But there are things, karma, stuff that you have to pay off. And when you start going through all of this, you start learning about it, and you start to really go deep and try to heal these things. This is called shadow work. Like the shadow of your soul, kind of like the dark part of your soul, like the parts that you try to hide in the shadow, right? And it could be stuff that's happened to you in the past or as a child, stuff that you don't even think about now, but it's there, it's under there, it's in the shadow. So that's why it's called shadow work. So if some of you watching have gone through life experiences or trauma, or you feel like you need to work on that, definitely go on YouTube and look up shadow work. There's so many videos on how to work on that part of your soul. Okay, so you start to purge everything, right? Step 3 is the dark night of the soul. You start to purge all these feelings, rethinking everything. And then step number 4 is called the void. You feel a void, okay? You feel like a void of your soul, or of your soul, what you thought it was, right? Which is actually your ego, right? Because that's when you start to feel like, okay, if I'm not this person, if I'm not who I thought I was, then who am I? You start to feel a void. You start to feel empty. You start to feel like you don't know who you are. You don't know why you're thinking the way that you're thinking. You don't even know where this is all coming from. And honestly, it's your soul is like picking you up, and your higher self, your soul, or your spirit guide, your ancestors, your angels, whatever you want to call them, a higher power is literally lifting you up from the dark night of the soul, and is just trying to get you to reevaluate your life, because however you were living your life is not the way you should be living your whole entire life, right? At some point something had to change. That's why you go through this process. So then you go through the void, right? You start to, this is when you are in this like cocoon, and it's like you did your little shadow work, you did all this stuff, but you just still need to be alone, because you still don't know what the hell's going on. You're still confused. You still don't want to tell any of your friends what you're going through, because they're gonna think you're completely crazy. They're gonna be like, shadow what? Spiritual what? Like, I'm telling you, I didn't want to talk to anybody about this, because it was going to take too much of my energy to even have to explain all of this. Even right now, I feel like I'm rambling on, because I haven't spoken about this in like 2 months since I even started. I don't even know where to start from. I feel like I've gone through so much that I'm just trying to compress it all into one short video. But you really feel like you're going crazy. You feel like, no, oh my God, I just saw the time on my camera right now, and it said 5:55. Anyways, moving along, because my camera died. I had to turn it back on, and I started the video a few minutes ago, and now when I look up to see if it's recording, it says 5:55. Random. Okay, but anyways, that, like I'm saying, I was not looking for that at all, and it was just there. So step 4 is the void. You start to feel like you're in this cocoon. You start to feel like you're moving backwards, right? Because like I said, step 2 was bliss. You start to feel connected. You see all these signs, you get all excited, and then once you start realizing everything, like you go through the dark night of the soul, you get this depression, you get this void feeling. I felt, and I'm someone, my hair, and I'm someone who's very, very, very hard on myself. So when I felt like I was going through this bliss moment, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm seeing all these signs, I'm feeling all connected, blah, blah, blah. And then I was going through this depression. It was really hard on me. I was so hard on myself. I'm like, why am I moving backwards? Like, I thought I was healed already. I thought I was healing. Why am I crying unexplainably for no reason? Like, I just was very hard on myself. I was hard on myself on the process. You know, the process is up and down. But every time I was down, I was just mad at myself. Like, why am I here again? Why am I crying again? Like, pick yourself up. You know, I was just very hard on myself. So it was hard for me going through this, especially alone, especially not talking to anyone about it. It was just crazy, right? So you start to go through this void. You start to feel like, okay, so what is my life purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? You start to rest, right? You just went through this intense depression, right? And each one of these steps can last days, they can last weeks, they can last months. Like you can be months in the dark night of the soul. You can be depressed for months, learning about yourself, reevaluating yourself. It's different for everybody. It could be weeks, it could be months. For some people it's longer. It all depends on your story, right? Your childhood. Some people have more trauma than others. Some people don't really have any trauma. Some people, you know what I'm saying? It's different for everyone. So I don't want to give timelines, but each one is a process. And it's also very natural to move backwards and then move forward and then move backwards and then move forward. Like you might be feeling like, okay, I'm finding my life purpose. And then all of a sudden you're depressed again and you don't know why. It's just a process. It's a healing process. And I'm learning myself to not be so hard on myself, which is hard for me because I'm very like, I'm a perfectionist. I want everything like a certain way and I'm just hard on myself naturally. So that's something that was very hard for me. Okay, then you start to get intuitive signs. You start to feel more connected with yourself. You start to feel like not only am I getting signs, but I'm starting to feel like I know certain things and I don't know why I know them. I just feel like I know. You know, like let's say you're in a street, right? You're in a street, in a two-way street that's dividing, and you're with a friend, right? Let's say that you guys don't know which way you have to go, but like something tells you that it's right, that you have to go right? So you tell your friend like, oh, it's this way. And then they're asking you like, why? Like, why isn't it? You're like, no, I know it's this way. I know it. You can't explain. Okay, so an intuition is when you get an inner knowing, when you get this feeling in your stomach and your heart, and you know it, but you can't explain why you know it, right? You can't explain why you know it, because if you explain it, then that means that there's logic behind it, and logic comes from your brain, it comes from your mind, and your mind is controlled by your ego. So your ego, if your ego tells you something and it comes through your mind and you're able to explain it, that's not intuition. That's just you knowing something because of you learned it previously, or you just know it. It comes from your ego, right? But when you get a feeling and you feel like I need to do this, and you can't explain why, right? Like, have you ever had a friend that just randomly moves out of the country, or they move to another state and they're just like, I don't know, I feel like I have to just do it. It's an intuition. Like, they feel something telling them to do that, and when you can't explain it, you just have to do it. That's how you know it's an intuition. So I started to get these intuitive feelings about certain things, about certain people. I started to feel sensitive around certain people's energies. I started to feel like different. It was just a different feeling that I couldn't explain. Like, once again, like I'm saying, you can't really explain why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And the fact that you can't explain it, the fact that you can't describe your feeling, is so scary, because it's like, what the hell's going on? Like, why am I feeling like this? What am I going through? It's something that's so new that it's very scary. It's just very scary. That's all I can say. Like, it's very scary, but it's just something that happens. It's part of the process. When you start to get intuitions about certain things, right? And I started to get that. I started to get feelings about certain people. I started to get things that I just knew, that I couldn't explain why I knew, but it was like something was telling me, you know? So I started practicing meditating. I started to learn about calming the mind. In order to hear your intuition, you have to quiet down your mind and all your thoughts, because all your thoughts are coming from your ego, right? Like, when you say, like, let's say there's a multiple choice question and you immediately feel like the answer is D, and then you go, but maybe it's B, right? And then has that ever happened to you, where you're like, okay, the answer is D, and then you're like, oh, maybe it's B. You start thinking logically, you start overthinking, you switch your answer, and then you get the results of the test back and the answer was D, and you're like, I knew it, I shouldn't have changed it. I'm telling you, this is real shit. Okay, this is real shit. So what led you to choose that first answer was your intuition. It was an inner knowing that it was just like, I know it's this. But then your ego kicks in, you're overthinking, you start thinking, well, maybe it's blah, 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 and then you pick the wrong thing, right? That happens also in life. Like, let's say you meet someone and you feel like, oh my God, like, this is my person. I know it. I could feel it. I can't understand why, but I could feel it. This is my person, my soulmate, whatever. And then your ego kicks in, right? And your ego starts to think, well, maybe they aren't. maybe they are a player, maybe they're gonna hurt me, maybe they're gonna leave, maybe your ego and starts to feed you things and it throws you off track, right? That's what the ego does. So you have to learn how to turn down the volume on the ego in order to really listen to your heart. Like, you have to learn how to feel feelings without thinking the thoughts in your mind. And it's such a hard thing to explain, and it's something that I still don't fully know how to do because I'm naturally an overthinker. Like I just told you, that I overanalyze things and I study them and I learn them. I love learning. I look like, hello, look at my notes, look at my notes. I have been watching YouTube videos and just learning and learning and learning. I enjoy learning, okay? And this is something that I like learning about, okay? I want to learn, why am I feeling like this? What does it mean, dark night of the soul? All these things, right? Then step 5 is groundedness, okay? You start to feel more grounded again, right? After you come out of that cocoon, after you decide like, okay, I've had enough time alone, I need to figure my life out now, you start to feel more grounded. You start to feel more alive. You start to trust in the universe. You start to see beyond your own sight, and you start to see that the world is bigger. Like there's actually a plan out there set for you. Even before I started to learn that even before we come to this earth, our souls already have planned everything out for us. Whoever you're gonna marry, however many kids you're gonna have, it's already planned out for you. And me learning that, literally I felt like all this weight off my shoulders, because I'm a control freak. I'm a control freak, and it is what it is. I'm being honest. I said I was gonna be honest in this video. So going through my breakup and being alone, I felt like I lost all this control, because I feel like, oh my God, what am I gonna do next with my life? And I felt like I was trying to control everything moving forward. Like I wanted to plan out my life, and I felt lost. I felt like, what's next? What's my next move? And I always wanted to know what my next move was. And it wasn't until I learned all this that I realized that I just have to let go, stop trying to plan my next move, and just focus on myself, focus on loving myself, focus on my growth, and then just realize that life is just gonna fall into place. Like things are gonna just fall into place for me. I'm gonna meet the people that I'm supposed to meet. I'm gonna be at the places that I'm supposed to be at. I'm going to be doing the everything that whatever my life purpose is, I'm gonna be doing it, because that's where I'm headed to, right? Even if I don't know where it is, I have to just trust that it's coming, and that it's gonna be there, and that it's waiting for me, right? I'm learning about divine timing. I'm learning to trust in the plan of the universe. I'm learning to trust. So as I learn to trust, which I had a very hard time trusting before, as I learn to trust, I feel more calm. Like I feel like I have less anxiety now. And some of you know that I was suffering from really bad anxiety. And my anxiety came from fear of like, what's next? What am I gonna do next? Like all that fear comes from your ego. So as your ego starts to dissolve, you start to feel more calm. You start to feel more like, you know what, like I'm good. Like God is watching out for me, or my spirit guide is watching out for me. My angels, my ancestors, they got me. I'm good. Like if there's bad people around me, they're gonna protect me from them. If somebody does me wrong, I don't have to worry about it. Karma's gonna take care of it. I don't have to stress myself about it. I'm learning to be less resentful. I'm learning to forgive. I'm learning to be more empathetic to people. I'm learning to see both sides of a story. Instead of just attacking someone for doing something wrong, I'm learning to understand why they did it in the first place. I'm literally becoming a different person, and it's crazy to even think that, but it's just, I mean, it's natural that I'm gonna think so differently after all the research that I've been doing, all the growing and all the learning that I've been doing. But that's why I want to share it with you guys, because most of you don't have all the time in the world to be taking notes and learning through YouTube all day. You know, like I said, I'm not married, I don't have kids. So I understand that those of you who are married, have full-time jobs, have kids, you have less time than I do. So lucky for you, I'm putting all of this into one video for you guys. So step 5 is groundedness. You start to like come out of that depression, and you start to feel like, okay, you come out of the cocoon and you have like one wing out. You're like a butterfly. You're not all the way there, but you have like one wing out, and you're trying to like, you're transforming, and you're feeling brand new. You start to feel more spiritually mature. You start to feel more mature in general. Like I definitely feel so much more mature than I was like 2 months ago. Like I just said right now, instead of getting mad at somebody, I will actually try to think like, why did they do that? Like what child trauma did they have that made them do this to me? Like I start to look at things differently. I don't want to just attack people for doing me wrong. I kind of am more understanding. I'm more empathetic. I have more compassion. I have more love for people. I have more love for myself, more self-love. That's me being more grounded, right? So that's step 5. And step 6 is your purpose and life mission. So most of the time when you go through a spiritual awakening and enlightenment, something like this, it's because you have a bigger purpose in life and you're not fulfilling that purpose. So it's kind of like your soul wakes you up. It like takes you out of bed and just says like, you have to go through this transformation and you have to fulfill your life's purpose. Like you're not living your life's purpose. So you start to analyze more about what you can do for other people. Like me, my life purpose, and I'll tell you right now, I know it, and I know it 100%. My life purpose is to help other people, is to help other people heal, is to help other people go through this journey, is to help other people. I won't just say women, even though I mostly work with women naturally. Even in my other business, I work with women. But it's not just women. You know, I have been talking about this on my social media, and a lot of women have been writing to me, telling me like, I'm going through the same thing. I'm going through a breakup. I'm going through a divorce. I'm going through this, and that. And they're writing to me in the DMs, and I'm responding to them. I'm giving them tips, and they're like, oh my God, like you're so amazing. I never looked at it this way. And getting messages like that really like fills my heart. It really makes me feel like, oh my God, like I'm helping this person. Like I want to do this. I want to do this more. I want to help more people. Like I felt so lost and so alone during my, you know, dark night of the soul. I felt like I had nobody, and it was my fault. Like I do have amazing friends that kept trying to reach out to me, and I was just like dodging everybody. I just had to be alone, but at the same time I felt so alone, but I couldn't talk to anybody about what I was going through. It's weird. It's weird to explain. I feel like I want to help women that are feeling lost, that are feeling like let's say they're coming out of a breakup or a marriage and they feel like it's the end of the world. I want to help them see that it's such a big world. Everything is planned out for you. If something didn't work out, it's because something else is gonna work out for you. It's because that wasn't your purpose. Maybe that person was in your life for a season, right? They were in your life for a specific reason as well. Maybe they were in your life to make you go through the things that you went through, to make you stronger, to make you the person that you are. And maybe now you'll be able to heal, you'll be able to learn from the experience, you'll be like, I just want to help people through that journey, right? I mean, not specifically just helping women go through breakups, but this is something that has helped me so much go through my breakup. Like I can't imagine coming out of an 8-year relationship and having nothing to look forward to. Like that's how I was feeling, and it was to the point where I was so lost that I would cry, and I would be like what's next for me? Like I would ask, like, what is next? Like I don't get it. Like what's going on? Like why am I being ghosted? Why am I being this and that? Like I would ask literally all these questions, and then things just started coming to me, and I started to realize that my words are powerful. I started to realize that when I was really asking for something, it was really coming to me. I started to learn about manifesting. I started to learn about affirmations, about journaling, about self-love. I started to learn about meditation, and I'm gonna be doing videos about all these things. It's not something that I can talk about right now because this video is like almost an hour long already. Oh my God. And I'm just literally only talking about my journey and the you know, the steps of a spiritual awakening, just for those of you who don't know what it feels like. Some of you have asked me questions on Instagram. I asked yesterday to throw me some questions so I can put in this video. And basically the questions was, how do you know you're going through a spiritual awakening? What are the steps? How do you know if you're in one? So I think I kind of covered everything in this video. You know, the last step was purpose and life mission. So not everyone is going to go through a spiritual awakening. It's not something that you can, I mean, maybe you can, but I've heard that you can't really just trigger it. It's something that happens to you in your life when it's supposed to happen. So I'm just sharing my journey. This is not a tutorial on how to go through a spiritual awakening, because I don't know how to do that. I don't know if you can force one to happen, but I do know that if you watch this video and you start to think about your life, you start to reevaluate your life, you start to question things, you start to research things, you start to look into things, you start to ask things from the universe, I do believe that things are going to start coming to you. You're going to start getting signs. You're going to start putting 2 and 2 together. I am the queen of putting 2 and 2 together, okay? Okay, and that goes for my relationships too, okay? I am the queen of putting 2 and 2 together. So that's all I have been doing lately. Like, I'll be in the shower and just thinking, and then I'm like, well, why did this happen? And I'm like, oh, well, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. Or if I didn't meet this person, then I wouldn't be here right now. And I'm like, oh, so that's why. And I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm just connecting things. And literally this whole month of me being alone, other than being depressed and learning and journaling, I've been connecting things. I'm like, okay, well, this is why that happened, and this is why I met this person, and this is why I'm here. And this is like, you start to like, other people call it aha moments. You're like, aha, like, like you are just talking to yourself. I mean, I've been talking to myself all month, like literally talking to myself. And you just start like, you start realizing things. It's a very interesting journey. It's like half depression, half enlightenment, half going crazy, half like, it's just a very crazy experience. So I felt like I had to put it together in a video. This is not something that I could have typed in a caption. So yeah, so these are the 6 steps. I am going to be, this video is gonna be, but all my videos that I make are gonna be both on my IGTV and also my YouTube channel. I'm also going to be making TikToks and stuff like that. But I am going to be talking, things that I'm going to be talking about is like, let's see, I'm going to be talking about spiritual awakening, my spiritual journey. I'm going to be talking about things that have helped me. I'm going to be talking about manifesting. I'm going to do a whole video on manifesting. I'm going to do another video on affirmations. I actually want to do a guided meditation video for you guys. I'm going to be talking about shadow work. I'm going to be talking about karmic relationships. I'm going to be talking about twin flames, soulmates, different kinds of relationships, things that I've learned. I'm going to be talking about so many things. Like I can't even like think of them right now. But everything, I'm also going to be talking about crystals and healing crystals. This is my amethyst. Oh, so pretty, it's so shiny. I won't give you a close-up because my nails are effed up. But yeah, I'm not going to do it to myself. But anyways, I'm going to be talking about healing crystals. I'm going to be talking about sage and blocking bad energy. I'm gonna be talking about, you know, I don't want you guys to think of being spiritual as being a witch, because I don't consider myself a witch. I don't consider myself a psychic. I don't consider myself any of these things. I just feel like I'm more connected with my soul. So if you guys see me like waving sage around, I'm not doing any kind of brujeria or witchcraft or whatever you guys think. I'm literally blocking out negative energy, okay? So I'm gonna sage this whole video because I don't want any negative comments. If you guys don't agree with anything I just said, just please unfollow me. Just leave me alone. I don't have time for negativity or negative comments. Keep them to yourself. So that's it. I don't want to make this too long. If I keep going, I can literally ramble on for another hour. So I'm so happy and thankful. I'm thankful that I finally shared this with you guys. I'm so thankful that you guys are here watching. I'm so thankful for all the, I was gonna say thousands, but for all the millions of lives that I'm gonna change, because I'm manifesting that. And I'm just so thankful for this journey, for the life I have, and for everything else. So thank you guys for watching me, and I will see you soon. Bye.